So here we are again for another session of the Station Hill Intermedia Lab. And here we are live once more here at Greenkill in Kingston, New York. A special thanks to David Schell, our host, and to all of you for being here. The session today is entitled The Subway Poems by Michael Ruby. This constitutes a stream of work of about 8 years duration, in which Michael, with, preternatural cunning and intelligence, took it upon himself to utilize that gap of time, which we call the commute, between his domicile in Brooklyn and getting to his job site in downtown Manhattan by way of the subway. And so this is work that kind of is going down and coming up through the subway, which features prominently in today's session, which you'll note in the visual field and also in the sonic envelope that contains it. And David Schell took a hand in the video and in the sound. And so to get us all in the mood, I thought I would read a short passage from a book written by David Sinclair, entitled The Church of the Serpent, The Philosophy of the Snake, and Attaining Transcendental Knowledge. Pindar said, "Neither by land nor by sea shall you find us. Maybe you will have to fly to discover us, or slither under the earth. Perhaps a great subterranean tunnel, the underground, will bring you to us. You must go down before you can come up. Katabasis, the going down, precedes anabasis, the going up. By the same token, the advance is followed by the retreat. The march forward so often turns into the march back. Even great Alexander learned that. Does descent precede ascent, or ascent precede descent? Please welcome this session, the Subway Poems.
Subway Poems. March 7, 2012. Every so often, waiting for the subway, I see someone who died many years ago. 4/24/12. An alien spaceship has touched down in the distance in Brooklyn, a giant metallic disc tilted upward. It's a basketball arena, future home of the hapless New Jersey Nets, owned by a Russian nickel oligarch. It's Barclays Center, owned by a UK bank. It's developer Forest City Ratner's baby. It's the former Atlantic Yards. So many different ways to characterize this spaceship out the window of an F train leaving 4th Avenue. Nine 4/12. 2 trains come to my station, 7th Avenue. The F and the G. I take the F to and from work, every day. I never take the G. 9:27:12. We have on the F train today a surprising number of the young and haunted. Good luck to them in their tragic trajectories. 10:10:12. I used to have all the time in the world to look at clouds, but now I only have a few minutes each day as I walk to the subway on 7th Ave, which happens to be a good place to look at clouds. 10:15:12. Ladies and gentlemen, a crowded subway is no place for unlawful sexual contact. A simulated man's voice says over the PA system. (12:13:12). A Paul Auster moment. The woman sitting across from me on the F train to Manhattan is writing in a small notebook the same size as mine. I wonder if she has just written these last sentences in her notebook with a few words changed. The man sitting across from me on the F train to Manhattan is writing in a small notebook the same size as mine. I wonder if he has just written these last sentences in his notebook with a few words changed. The woman sitting across from me on the F train to Manhattan is writing in a small notebook the same size as mine. ... 12:19:12. Anyone who ever smokes is smoking today. Why is that? I'll tell you. It's December 19th, about as far as you can get from a New Year's resolution. Am I an exception? We'll see. The day is young. 1:22:13. The older woman sitting across from me looks exactly like my mother, who died less than a year ago. That is really weird. I'm tempted to walk over and say, "You look exactly like a close relative of mine. Are you a Handler, Friedman, Wolf, or Shapiro?" The thought crosses my mind. She could be Aunt Fanny's granddaughter, a second cousin I've never met. Or here's an even weirder thought. It is my mother, only she doesn't recognize me now that she's dead. She's wearing a white knitted skull cap and a big fake fur coat and reading on a purple Kindle, something Mom would never do, with a large black leather bag and a knee-high black wool skirt and high black leather boots, also not Mom's style. What else? Bright red lipstick. That's what Mom wore. That is Mom. I'm the dead one who's invisible to her. This might be some other dimension. I hope I can escape from it before I get to work at the newspaper. She's even getting off at Mom's stop, West 4th Street. How about that? She gives me a skeptical glance as she walks past. She isn't Mom when I look at her dead on. Her lips have a twist Mom's didn't have. She's only Mom from the side. Goodbye, Mom. (1:31:13). Some days I step into the train and see a number of beautiful people distributed throughout the car. Whoever said the world's an ugly place? It's not an ugly place. The world might be a brutal place, but it isn't an ugly place. (3:21:13). When one train runs alongside another underground, the people in the other train seem so unguarded, transcendently unguarded, and yet surely they're no more nor less unguarded than they would be if I didn't see them. It is the observer who makes us seem unguarded. (3:26:13). It's one of those infinite skies again, the kind painters love. So many clouds and so much blue, as if the two were simultaneously possible. (9:11:13). If you think it's a G train, it's a G. If you think it's an F, it might be a G, because hope can cloud your vision. But if you think it's a G, it's a G. (9:27:13). In a chance remark at our block party, Jack said Selwyn's cousin sold their house and Selwyn moved to Flatbush. And so, after 16 years as a neighbor, Selwyn Lewis has left my life, probably never to return, like Al and Claudia and other longtime black residents of 4th Street who moved to the block in the 1950s. Selwyn, you won't haunt 7th Ave anymore. You won't haunt the narrow band of blocks between 4th Street and 9th Street. You will haunt another narrow band of blocks, like my half-brother Steve Herford did, in West Orange, near Ann's Clam Bar. That's the way life is for a schizophrenic. (10:09:13). An Andy Warhol look-alike sits across from me. His face has been smoothed by plastic surgery. His hair is exactly like Andy Warhol's, lank but still sandy, not yet arrived at its final white. Andy Warhol doesn't look happy. He might be unhappy because he isn't Andy Warhol, however much he tries. His hands are bright red. His big hands, his long fingers, are bright red. Andy Warhol's hands weren't like that. If his hands had been like that, he wouldn't have been Andy Warhol. (11:06:13). There's a woman with a surgical mask next to me on the subway platform. I quickly move away from her, make sure to get into a different car when our train surges into the station. Such sights are commonplace, I suppose, in Asia, where they sell pangolins and wild birds at open-air markets. Will this be the first entry in a modern journal of the plague year? Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Though that's out there, like asteroids, nuclear war, and alien invasions. (2:10:14). Until I reach the end of the platform, where the back of the train arrives, I haven't lost a single second. Now I'm here. I've lost a second. I'm losing a second every second. That's like a team losing every game. Well, maybe not as bad as that. (2:19:14). Never look to see which train is coming, because if it's a G, it will break your heart. But if you hadn't looked, your heart would remain whole, even unshaven, like Frank O'Hara's heart. 3:30:14. Have you ever walked into a subway station like this one, Lex Ave and 63rd Street, that's been under reconstruction for years? It was under reconstruction 3 years ago when my mother started dying near here at New York Presbyterian Hospital. It was under reconstruction 2 years ago when my mother died near here at a hospice. How many people's mothers have been dying and died near here while this subway station has been under reconstruction? It's a crummy place to wait, whether your mother is dying or not. Though not so bad a place tonight, a rainy Sunday night. (4:11:14). The verbal proposition, "this is the non-universe," appears in my mind as I wade through people in the drab corridor on the way to the turnstiles. What do I mean by that? That the me is real, the not me unreal? Remember all those terms? Me, not me, self, other, man, nature, mind, matter, soul, body, spirit, material. This makes me want to use my college notebooks like Bernadette Mayer did in Eruditio ex memoria. (5:22:14). I saw Jackson Pollock walking on 7th Ave today, unspeakably bronzed, smoking a cigarette, his left arm around a much younger woman. He looked angry, or as if he's usually angry. Well, maybe it wasn't Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock died in a car wreck in East Hampton on August 11th, 1956, almost exactly a year before I was born. But if Jackson Pollock were still alive, he might be walking on 7th Ave today, unspeakably bronzed, smoking a cigarette, his left arm around a much younger woman, looking angry for whatever reason. (6:14). A woman exits the train as I enter. Through the train window, I watch her walk on the platform. This is a woman and a man, moving in different directions. It happens literally billions of times a minute, and our minds are trained to gloss over it all the time. That's probably a good idea. It's one of those thoughts, like listening to every sound, that can drive you insane, unless you're Pete Mondrian. 6/23/14. Today is the day after yesterday. Blue, but not as blue. Hotter. The perfect beach day. The day after yesterday is often the perfect beach day. 6/27/14. There are these moments walking along 7th Ave when I'm suddenly compelled, this doesn't sound good, to look at all the people on the street, even the people down side streets, even the people behind me. Who looks at the people behind them? It's what you're supposed to do right before the bomb hits. It's what you're supposed to do in the last second of your life. Hurriedly take everything in. Freeze the frame forever. 9/2/14. I looked up from my writing a moment ago, and there, sitting directly across from me, was my half-brother, Stephen Arthur Herford. Steve, Stick Man, last known as Arthur, who died of pancreatic cancer 12 years ago. The same irritated red skin at the tip of his nose, the same milky skin susceptible to melanoma, the same brown hair, the same schizophrenia. That is a hard thing. 9/3/14. As I walked past La Bagel today, someone yelled, "Hey!" I turned around, and there was Selwyn, thinner, smiling, missing a front tooth. "You around here these days?" I said. "Yeah, I live on Ocean Avenue." "The next time you're around, ring my doorbell. Great seeing you, man." I wished I had more time to stop and talk with him. That's the first time I've seen him in a year. I've even written poems about how I would never see him again. And I've been proven wrong. Life doesn't go like that. You do see people again. You see them again and again, even when you don't see them anymore. After Selwyn, I saw two beautiful people and a pink balloon on the sidewalk, twisted into the shape of a poodle. I should have paused and picked it up, but I didn't. I was in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry. 10/22/14. What kind of day is it? It's cold and rainy, leaves blowing down from the trees. It's not a nice day, not out here on 7th Ave, unless you're in love or having brilliant ideas. It's cold and rainy, leaves blowing down from the trees. 11/13/14. There's an intelligent-looking older man reading a red leather-bound book with marbled end papers on the F train. How quaint. Old books. The book. How long will the book last? What's going to happen to all the books now that people don't have room for them? What's going to happen to leather-bound books? Quick, read 'em, read 'em. The older man looks up. He looks at me and grimaces. He looks suddenly old. A little later, I noticed the old man was glaring at me. He was utterly glaring at me. I had to look away. Shield thy soul from the evil eye. He got off at the next stop, 2nd Avenue. The old man glared at me as if he heard my lines in his head. Were they not nice? How about that? How quaint. Would I glare at someone who thought I was quaint? I don't think so. The old man reading the leather-bound book glared at me. That makes me sad. He probably had more in common with me than anyone else on the whole train. That's the problem with people of my era. We dislike the people most like us. One 13:15. I used to think I was almost infallible about detecting the difference between the sound of an F train and the sound of a G train as it approaches the station. But I'm not so sure lately. I'm afraid hope is clouding my vision. 3:24:15. A woman is looking longingly out the plate glass window of Smiling Pizza on 7th Ave, an image from the 1930s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, from Edward Hopper's paintings, Robert Frank's photographs. Her eyes and nose are pressed against the plate glass window, looking at the busy sidewalk around the subway entrance. She seems to have forgotten the little girl sitting with her across the orange Formica table. Am I reading too much here? Did we always read too much? Isn't every emotion passing and thus can't stand for much? 3:30:15. You're in a train leaving the station and you see someone descending the stairs into the station. What exists between you? Nothing, right? Is this Stephen's vaunted, the nothing that is? 4:3:15. Above, the day. Ahead, hard to say. Either the future or the past. To the left, a hospital. To the right, a leafy street. Above, the day. Ahead, hard to say. 5:8:15. Two young women making love on 7th Ave fill me with joy. 8:20:15. During these years, my black backpack has served me as a mobile poetry lab, not a mobile weapons lab, one of those Iraqi chemical weapons labs that didn't exist. 10:9:15. Oh my God, there's the woman who looks exactly like my dead mother. reading the Times, as my mother would be doing after visiting her grandchildren in Brooklyn. I wonder if she'll get off at my mother's stop, West 4th Street, like she did last time. Oh no, she's getting off at J Street Metrotech, perhaps to catch the A to West 4th Street. If she had stayed, I'm almost certain I would have walked over this time and said, "Excuse me, you look like my late mother. I'm wondering if you're a cousin of mine." 11:10:15. I just sat next to a homeless guy. That Russian girl hates him. You can see it in her eyes, her mouth, her eye makeup, her swept-back brown hair. What will it be like, a whole ride with this smell? We shall see, we shall see. On his cart, a sign reads, "Repent, judgment is coming." Ladies and gentlemen, a simulated male voice says over the PA system, this is an important message from the New York City Police Department. An expression of disgust crosses the homeless man's face. What does the NYPD's message have to do with him? For that matter, what does any of this have to do with me? It's sad when you're mentally ill and homeless. It's less sad when you're mentally ill and respectable. 1:25:16. There are zombies around, at least occasionally. I just saw one, a woman in front of Just Salad with zombie eyes. There are zombies around, just as there are dead people around, at least occasionally. In fact, I just saw a dead person as I went through the turnstile. Miss O'Flaherty, my poetry teacher, my very first poetry teacher at South Orange Junior High. I wonder if this has anything to do with the record Snow 2 days ago. Did it release zombies and dead people? Or cause them to stand out more to me? As we age, we fill the world with the people in our minds. We superimpose the past onto the present, and the world we perceive is unreal, but also more interesting. Three 1:16. It's easy to think there's something desirable about a vanishing point, especially when the sky is blue, the way it's blue, and the clouds are white, the way they're white. I've been to the vanishing point here. It's farther south on 7th Ave, where Park Slope shades into Sunset Park. At this very second, I see a long line of red lights on the way to the vanishing point. What more do you need to know on this disappointing earth? There's a string of red lights as far as the eye can see on the way to the vanishing point. If you're headed towards the vanishing point, you are stopped now. And if time were to stop now, you would be stopped forever at a red light on the way to a vanishing point. That is not particularly desirable. If you stop to think about it, why would a vanishing point ever be desirable? What is desirable about vanishing? Three 7:16. Today, on 7th Ave, there is no vanishing point, nothing to yearn for. Too many delivery trucks double parked to see any distance at all, much less to the fulfillment of dreams. 5/20/16. Don't ever tell me my home state of New Jersey no longer exists. It's right over there, in the distance, out the subway window. 6/15/16. The sick-looking woman I noticed before is now standing between cars, smoking a cigarette. For whatever reasons, she's going to die soon. I guess I shouldn't observe her. We turn away from the dying. It's what they want, we lie to ourselves. I look through the door window. She's moving her cigarette like she's talking to someone. A number of people in this car are dying or insane. For a second, I wonder, does that mean I am? The woman starts yelling. Time to change my seat. Luckily, a guy talks her down, a better man than I. 8/26/16. Not enough rock music blares on city streets anymore. I wish it were like the 70s again, or at least like movies about the 70s. I'm not sure the 70s themselves were actually like that. I guess it shouldn't be surprising that movies about a decade are better than the decade itself. 11/9/16. How do people look in Brooklyn the day after? Toddlers act the same. They don't know what happened. People look restrained, very restrained. No eye contact. 11/16/16. The people standing on the sidewalk smoking seem to smoke with a greater gusto ever since Trump was elected. I wonder what the relationship might be. Cigarettes haven't tasted this good in years. The expression on one woman's face shouts to everyone who passes by. 12/8/16. How often I look up and the person I looked at before is gone and there's a new person. The old is repeatedly replaced by the new when we aren't looking. 12/9/16. We have some Russians in our subway car. When I see myself reflected in the window behind those young Russians, I look old. I look old and Russian Jewish. And Einsatz Group in A didn't get me. I'm a Jew from Gostini in the middle of Latvia, and Einsatz Group in A didn't get me. I had the chance to flourish in a far better place. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you, God. 12/15/16. Each day now, as I round the corner onto 7th Ave, the sun shines its giant flashlight in my eyes like an interrogator in a bare room in a 40s cop movie. You know what I'm talking about, Michael, the son says in a voice, quote, dripping with scorn. (12/20/16). Everyone seems recognizable today. I wonder if there's a brain malady where everyone seems recognizable. There's one where no one is recognizable. 1/13/17. Every once in a while, I look at someone and the word assassin appears in my mind. Where does this come from? The assassins of the 60s when I was growing up? Assassins in movies? Evidently, these people are not assassins. Rather, they are people who activate my mind's assassin profiling program. 1/20/17. The woman across from me is reading Ta-Nehisi Coates's Between the World and Me on this day of infamy, the day America finally gets a taste of what it's like to live under a Benito Mussolini or a Silvio Berlusconi, or, in Edwin Frank's view, a Juan Domingo Perón. It took almost 100 years. It took 70 years. It took 20 years. But we got there. We got there. And if history is any guide, there's probably going to be a bad ending. Let us now all pray for a Berlusconi, not a Perón or a Mussolini. At least then, the ending will be less bad. 2/24/17. Today, I look at my subway station objectively. I don't do that very often, and my subway station looks terrible. The tiles on the walls are utterly grimy. Large areas of tiles have come off, revealing the shit-brown wet concrete behind them. My station looks like one in East Berlin at the end of the road in the 1980s. But this isn't East Berlin at the bitter end. This is Park Slope in the Golden Age. We're not decaying under so-called communism. We're rolling under so-called capitalism. (3/2/17). A fake blind man enters the station. He has a white wiffle ball attached to the end of his stick by a piece of white string. This might be an innovation. On the subway platform, I actually see him look up at the sign above his head, 7th Avenue. I see him take it in. I like it. I don't know why. Does this remind me of a movie, the beginning of a movie, following a fake blind man down to the subway platform? Where is this leading? This could easily be expanded. What country is this? What decade is this? When life becomes a movie, when you step into a movie, the simplest questions become difficult to answer. In some sense, you are beyond all questions and answers. 6/2/17. People are waiting on the sidewalk today. The bus, you say. It's more than that. People are waiting on the sidewalk today. For AA, you say. It's more than that. People are waiting on the sidewalk today. 6/20/17. On my walk today, looking into plate glass windows, I observed a couple of things. Here's the first one. So many different surfaces reflect us on the street, some at considerable distances. My body is being reflected in 100 surfaces around me, and I'm rarely aware of any of them. To me, that is a vertiginous statement, almost frightening. That's another phenomenon that could drive you insane. Here's the second thing I observed. When you approach a shop window on the sidewalk and look into it from that oblique angle, you glimpse the inside of the shop and the people there. Then, as you begin crossing in front of the window, you see the street perfectly reflected, all the cars, all the parked cars. Then, as you're directly in front of the window, you see yourself prominent, but mixed together with the people inside. Only in the last second can you take full stock of the people inside. It's so hard to see the people in stores clearly. Maybe that's the idea. Stores want me to see myself within them. (8/8/17). She reminds me of someone I no longer know. And she reminds me of someone I no longer know. Is this the beginning of a Rilkean beauty we're still not able to bear? What would it be like if everyone I saw were like that? It would be unreal, because many people here don't look like someone I used to know. They really don't. We posit unreal worlds. We don't have to live in them. (8/15/17). The Statue of Liberty is there on this rainy day. It's the last thing there, the last woman standing on the horizon on this rainy day. And beyond, no longer New Jersey, just a gray-tinged whiteness, just America. 9/5/17. Today, for the very first time, we have electronic displays that tell when the next train is coming. Also the time, temperature, and weather. No more wondering when the train is coming. That's what I call a major change in the history of the New York subway system. All through the years until today, we riders never knew when the train was coming. From now on, we will always know. This is a good thing, right? Trading uncertainty for certainty. And yet, I seem to have discovered in myself a preference for uncertainty. (10/11/17). When a bad person across from me stands up to get off the train, I sometimes have a sudden fear he'll swipe this notebook as he's leaving the train, and the door will shut, and I'll lose all my poems in this notebook since June, including my careful studies of reflections in store windows. That's the kind of thing some guys in New Jersey in my era would do. There were some real assholes born a few years before me in the tri-state area, and the nation is suffering from one of them now. 11, 14, 17. We are living in the absolute golden age of footwear. If I run my eye along the floor of the subway car, I can see that every person wears a different style of shoes or sneakers. I wonder how the shoe companies can make money manufacturing so many different styles of shoes, a different style for every person in the world. Twelve, 9, 17. Sometimes when the G pulls into the station, instead of ignoring it, I have to at least pose the question, can this G do something for me? Twelve, 13, 17. Look, they outfitted the G-train cars with electronic displays. With the tax bill coming to plunder New York and New Jersey, this might be a high point, an intraday high, so to speak, for public spending in my hometown, Frank Sinatra's New York, New York. Twelve, 18, 17. One day, a whiff of pot hung in the air everywhere. On 7th Ave, in the subway station, even in the F train. Have we entered the New Jerusalem after all these years? Do I wake or sleep? One, 9, 18. When a train enters your station slowly, you can process the faces of the people inside each car. You're going to be one of them soon, moving slowly through space, but at the same speed through time. Twelve, 15, 18. Sometimes I feel the same train pulls up with the same people day after day. There's the overweight Orthodox guy sitting exactly where he sat yesterday. Actually, it's a different Orthodox guy. And there's a woman who resembles my dead childhood friend, Cedra Varga, who used to live farther out on this F line. And here I am, choosing the same seat, writing in the same notebook, counting how many seconds I can see the Statue of Liberty, 10 seconds, and how many people I can see below me on Smith Street, 3 people. Janis Joplin got it right back in 1969. It's all the same fucking day, man. Two 28:18. 2 trains on parallel tracks leave the station at the same time. It can't last. 4:18. It is only 5 blocks from my house to the subway station, but that is enough. That is more than enough for a light rain to become a soaking rain. And, I suppose, for a soaking rain to become a light rain, though that's not something you need to prepare for. 4/5/18. People glimpsed at the southeast corner of Smith Street and 3rd Street before the F train returns underground. A man, a child, people stripped of detail, individuality, every man, every child, a few seconds in the allegory. 5/10/18. We seem to have a new clientele on the F train, hipsters. Are there hipsters settling out the F line in deep Brooklyn? With God, all things are possible. Isn't that what St. Paul said long before there were hipsters or deep Brooklyn? There is no universe, just us here in this subway car, this half-empty subway car, approaching East Broadway from the east at 1 p.m. on a Friday afternoon in May, at the end of time. Six, 7/18. I didn't miss the train by much. In the underground corridor that leads to the turnstiles, I heard the train's announcements. I could hear enough to know it was my train I was missing. I saw the tail end of the train disappearing in the tunnel as I descended to the platform. I didn't miss the train by much. That could be the repeated line of an iambic tetrameter, villanelle, written by a poet in the 70s. I didn't miss the train by much. 6/26/18. The G from Brooklyn to Queens. It doesn't sound so bad. It sounds better than it used to. The G from Queens to Brooklyn. It doesn't sound so bad. It sounds better than it used to. When I stop working and have some time, I might start taking the G train from Brooklyn to Queens and then back from Queens to Brooklyn. Anything can happen before nothing happens. 7/18/18. Today is one of those days. It's best not to look closely at other people. They're not doing well. The president exposed himself as a puppet of Vladimir Putin 2 days ago. But we have to go on with our lives, take the subway to our jobs, worry about our children and our parents if they're still around. (8/29/18). An old lady with a walker is sitting drinking a Diet Coke at J Street Metrotech. It is very hard to negotiate the subways with a walker, but it is not hard to negotiate a Diet Coke. Everything depends, as the master said, on the Diet Coke, whose icy can, by the way, has a red stripe. Everything depends on red. Could be. (11:30/18). I love it when two trains ride side by side underground. I've written this poem before. I love it when they part ways, my train continuing at this level, the other rising to a higher level. I've written this before too. What's that line of Stevens again? One has been there before. I've copied that line before, too. (12/7/18). A preschool, a tattoo parlor, a coffee shop. Those are the three storefronts I see on Smith Street, right before the F train returns underground for the Carroll Street stop. Those are the last things I see. The last things I see. There's something charged about that, even though I'm only talking about storefronts. Years ago, there were different stores. Years from now, there will be different stores. But what? The earth endureth forever? God endureth forever? I think the earth will outlast God at the rate we're going now. (2/13/19). The sky is so much larger than my thoughts. Why would I ever prefer my thoughts to the sky? (2/19/19). At night, on my way home from work, I love watching the people in front of me, walking in the underground corridor, walking up the stairs to the street. Sadly, there's often something wrong with one of the people's legs, a legacy of suburban sports injuries. (3/21/19). What is it about watching a train leaving the station, watching the tail end of the train disappearing into the subway tunnel? The train has left the station, and I am not on the train. Even if it wasn't my train, even if it was a G train, which in fact it was, the train has left the station, and I am not on the train. I am never going to be on it. (3/22/19). There's a dolled up old lady from the past, from far in the past. How far in the past? I don't know. The 60s, 70s, 40 years ago at least, maybe much more. What is someone from that time doing in this time? How did she get here? Does she have a mission? (4/23/19). A high percentage of the people on 7th Ave are zombies at 11 a.m. on the Tuesday after Easter and Passover. Does this mean I'm a zombie? What is a zombie anyway? A zombie is a walking dead person. But I'm not walking, I'm running for a train, and just make it. A young policeman and police lady talk at the front of the front car. They put an initial damper on things until I listen to their banter. Neither are apparently married. I wonder if they're flirting with each other. I wonder what their assignment is. The cop in me, the cop in my heart, wonders what the real cop's assignment is, as if it matters. There are zombies out today, but not in this subway car. Perhaps police scare away zombies, or perhaps zombies don't take the subway. They prefer to be above ground, where they so rarely get to be. (4/26/19). On the Carroll Street platform, the display shows the time down to 100th of a second. Why not 1,000th, a 10,000th, 100,000th, a millionth of a second? Then we would drown in the amount of time passing when no time passes at all. 5:15:19. For so long, the Williamsburg Bank Tower was the tallest building in Brooklyn, and now it isn't. Two junky buildings going up next to it are already taller. How long was it the tallest building in Brooklyn? Probably 90 years, from the roaring 20s to the what? The roaring teens? Everything will be revealed. (7:10:19). Walking along 7th Ave is like taking a little voyage, a voyage through people. Today, I see several retirees. I could be one of them any day now, any year now. And then what? Then what? We all know the answer to that. Along my little voyage to the 7th Avenue station, I sail past Methodist Hospital, and not so far away is Greenwood Cemetery. 8:20:19. She appears to have no idea I'm looking at her reflection in the window. It's the furthest thing from her mind. There is something frightening about that. If I were looking at her directly, even if I were looking at her back, she would probably perceive it. But she doesn't perceive it when I'm looking at her reflection. Do you want to know why? Reflections don't perceive. Only people do. If you want to look at someone without them perceiving you, look at their reflection in a window. 8:30:19. I'm glad I don't have to eat my sandwich in the subway like the guy sitting across from me. I get to eat my sandwich in front of a screen at work. I get paid for eating my sandwich. 11:04:19. The sun shines in my eyes as I round the corner onto 7th Ave at 12:30. It must be November, the month my 3 brothers died. Does the sun shining in my eyes have anything to do with my brothers' deaths? Does anything have to do with that? I have to do with that. I'm the common denominator, linking the blinding sun and my brothers' deaths. 11:05:19. As the years go by, we hear fewer Christian sermons in the New York subway about the coming end of days and our need to repent. As we get closer to the end, it gets further from our minds. The end recedes as we get closer to it. It isn't a law of physics, it's a law of psychology. (11:14:19) for the memory of Steve Dalachinsky. Small green leaves drop on me from the pagoda tree outside my house. Small green leaves have been dropping day and night since the deep freeze 2 nights ago Small green leaves drop day and night on our street, one at a time or in droves, filling the gutters. They look like small green coins, oblong coins that poured out of slot machines. We are rich in small green leaves in the gutters. We have hit the jackpot in small green leaves from the pagoda trees on 4th Street. 11/22/19. If a person is begging, such as this older Eastern European guy, you should give him some money. It's highly unlikely this guy wants to be begging in the subway. Strangely, I'm the only person in the vicinity who gives him any money. It shows that an argument so clear to me is not clear at all to other people. 12/9/19. A well-dressed young woman with hair dyed bright silver gets off at Wall Street. I notice as she walks past, she's wearing camouflage tights. Why does she wear camouflage? What does she like about it? I doubt she's a deer hunter or a lover of the military. What does camouflage do? Camouflage helps us hide from prey and predators who want to kill us, and prey we want to kill. 12/11/19. For many years, I lived with the day. Now I live without the day, except a few minutes here and there. I should linger on the front steps when I pick up the newspaper each morning. That would add some day to my day. And I should take greater note of my walk home each night, though it's always harder to pay attention on the return trip, much harder. It might be a law of perception. There is a natural relaxation of attention on the return trip, on all return trips. That has occasional tragic consequences for both animals and humans, and, I would imagine, for spirits. 1/27/20. I'm tempted to say these big clouds weigh on us, but all I know for sure is these clouds weigh on me. 2/3/20. The woman sitting next to me today is wearing a pale green hospital mask. She's the only person in the car to do so. I think it's fair to say she's the most concerned about coronavirus of anyone in this car. I wonder what's the maximum number of masks I'll see in coming months. And if I see a person wearing a mask, should I sit close to them or far away? I'm never sure what the correct answer is. 2/20/20. If I look down a side street, I see trees and a place the Atlantic Ocean used to reach. If I look up a side street, I see trees and the edge of Prospect Park. I don't look up and down side streets and see trees often enough. Does it matter if I look up and down side streets and see trees? Does it matter even to me? Well, yes, it matters to me. 3:10:20. The first daffodils and myrtle have opened in front of All Saints Episcopal Church. Daffodils and myrtle and coronavirus. It's here too, only invisible, still invisible. March 12th, 2020. This might be the last time I hurry to the subway station. I hurry to get to work. What a strange thought. One does get there, don't they? I'm sure I'll still hurry from time to time in this life, but never as much again. I can live with that.